Let me start recording. Okay, yes. So that was it. Like as I was saying, I didn't know much. I didn't know much about Valentine, and it just slipped like that. But today, this case is a different ball game altogether. Yesterday was Valentine. Although I would have really loved this class if this class had been held on Thursday 13th, on the 13th. But because of school, because of work, and people voted on the platform that it should be today. So we took the class down to today. And I want to appreciate God for this privilege. Now, 2 days ago, even my twins, 6 years old, they wrote something on paper wishing me a happy Valentine. They wish me, so everybody is aware of Valentine now. Then yesterday again, my daughter went to school. My daughter that is 13 years old, though, returned back with lots of gifts. Although we've been discussing these things in the house. My children, they are aware. The teenagers in my house, they are aware. I have 2 teenagers and 1 preteen in my house, so they already are aware. It's something we'll be discussing. So we already agree that whatever anybody gives to you, before we accept it, we have to see it. So if anybody give you anything that is not okay, if we say no, you will not collect it. So that was it. She came back yesterday with gifts. She said 6 people gave her gifts in her class. Just imagine. So Valentine is everywhere. People talk about Valentine, both those that have correct information about it and those that don't even have the right information. So that's it. So having said that, I would like to quickly talk about how this Valentine Day came about, how it came about. Now, going through, if you want to check how Valentine started, you will see that there are up to, I saw like three different versions, 3 different history of Valentine. But the one that stood out for me is the one I'm going to be sharing this evening. And this is equally the one I shared with my preteens and teens in church. And even the children that are also enlightened, because I work in a primary school, I also taught those from primary 3 to primary 6 so that they will actually know the meaning of what people are celebrating, so that they will not get lost in the crowd. So that teenagers, you will not get lost in the crowd. Now, the origin of Valentine celebration dates back to the 3rd century. Imagine we're in the 21st century now. 21st century. If you take away 3 centuries away from the 21st century, you just discover that this thing has started like 18 centuries ago in Rome, where there was this priest by the name Saint Valentine. He was secretly wedding and performing marital rites for young couples, for young people, which was against the ban on marriages by the Emperor Claudius II then. He bounded that he put a ban on marriages because why? He believed that when young men are allowed to fight, when they are not allowed to get involved in family life, they will become good fighters. They will do well to fight very well in the battlefield. So he placed a bound on young men getting married. But Saint Valentine, who happened to be a priest, he was a priest. He believed in the power of love. He believed in marriage. He believed that these people should be allowed to get married. So he started secretly wedding these people, wedding young couples. And along the line, he was caught. And so while he was caught, he was put in prison, awaiting execution. They were to execute him, that is to kill him, for him to die for going against the instruction of the ruler of the day. And what happened? While he was in the prison, he healed the jailer's daughter of her blindness. The jailer's daughter was blind. He healed her of her blindness. And we are made to know that shortly before he was executed, he wrote a note, like a love note to the jailer's daughter, and signed with the words, "From your Valentine." And from that time till now, this has become a phrase, a popular phrase that people still use, even till date. You see people buy gifts, buy a little gift and write from your Valentine. Now, when Valentine died, after he died, people began to celebrate this day by sharing simple love notes, appreciation, chocolates, and other petty gifts. But today, people still celebrate Valentine, but this time around for various reasons. And these reasons are centered either around love, lust, or sex. So these are the major reasons why people celebrate Valentine. You just see people shouting Valentine, 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 Valentine. Some persons don't even know why the Valentine is being celebrated. Why some persons, they know the reasons behind celebration. Now, I, for one, as a person, I don't take Valentine as anything. I don't even feel that I should celebrate it, or I don't take it serious. But funny enough, I was even asking my daughter, was it days back or even yesterday, what's your opinion about Valentine? And she told me that she believes in it too. But is there anything I can do? No. My own I can do is to instill values, to make them know that, see, this is how Valentine came to be. Because left alone, I would have said, okay, why is it that there are no special days of celebration like Saint Stephen? You know Saint Stephen in the Bible. If you remember Saint Stephen was executed. He was executed for believing in God. And even while they were killing him, they were stoning him, he was praying to God, God, forgive them, for they know not what they have done. In my own opinion, if I'm even to celebrate, I think I would still love to celebrate St. Stephen Day. Now, that's by the side. Let's go into what we have before us. Now, I said that Valentine is being celebrated basically for three reasons. The aim of Valentine revolves around these three things. Revolve around love, true love, revolve around lust, and revolves around sex. Now, as we go into the lecture properly, I want us to look at, let's even talk about sex. What is sex? Let's talk about sex. As teenagers, as young people, we need to know what sex is about. We really need to know, and the way I teach, my teaching is based on the Bible. Now, first and foremost, sex is first who you are as a person. Sex is first who you are. It simply means your gender. Your gender, meaning that you are either a male or a female. Genesis 1 verse 27 said that God created them male and female. Male and female. Now, when you hear stories these days of people now saying that they are transgender, they have translated from a male to a girl to a female, from female to male. It is not godly. It is not of God. It is turning what God have created upside down. It is the devil's agenda to destroy what God has created us to be. Now, first and foremost, I want us to know that you are either a male or you are a female. And that is why in the hospital, if you go to the hospital, pregnant women, when they want to give birth in the hospital, after giving birth, if the woman is active and strong enough to identify what he or she, the sex he or she gave birth to, you'll be able to identify. If she is not able to identify, the person that comes with her, they will ask, the nurse will lift up the baby and say, what sex do you have? Then they will say, is either a boy or a girl. And it is based on the sexual organs that God gives to that baby. That is how they name the baby, either a boy or a girl. So this evening, I want you to know that you are either a boy or a girl. You are either a male or you are a female. And anything short of this, it is not correct, and we are not to go by those things. Now, secondly, sex is a private and physical activity between a husband and his wife. Sex is a private and physical activity between a husband and his wife, which involves the touching and fondling of their sexual organs. Now, any sex activities that is not between a husband and his wife, obviously it is not of the Christian faith. So sex, as it's weird, the way God designed it to be, is an activity and is private to a husband and his wife. Now, note, like I wrote here, that sex is not made for teenagers and unmarried people, but for the married. But for the married. That is what the sex is all about. Now, if we say sex is not made for the teenagers and for married people, it therefore means that as teenagers, we have to know some things about sex. We have to know some things about sex. It is very, very important that we know some things about sex. Now, sex is made by God. Sex is made by God. Just the same way God created everything, and God said they are beautiful. The same way God made sex. Sex is made by God. It is not made by the devil. Devil did not create sex. It is God that creates sex. And so because it is God that made sex, it is beautiful. Because everything made by God is beautiful. Now, because God also made sex and sex is beautiful. Now, the next point we should also note that is that sex is a sacred covenant. Sex is a sacred covenant binding on the parties involved. Now, who are the parties involved? The husband and the wife. The husband and the wife. So sex is a sacred covenant. It is a covenant. It is not what we see these days. We just see young boys, 13, 14, in the 12. We just see all manner. They just get themselves involved in sex. When they get themselves involved, because sex is a covenant, whatever evil that those partners carry, obviously it comes on them. But God is not involved. So sex is a covenant, and so binding on the parties involved. Now, note again, sex is for companionship within the context of marriage. Sex is for companionship within the context of marriage. Now, those that are being involved in sexual activities that are not married, from this point here, you will discover that it can never be an effective means of companionship, because God is outside of the context. God is outside what they are doing. Now, another thing we need to know about sex is that sex is for procreation. Sex is for procreation. When you say procreation, it means that it is to bring forth. Now, the reason why I'm alive today, the reason why I'm here today is because my father and my mother, they were involved in sexual activity, and so they gave birth to me. The same thing with you, dear teenager. As you listen to me, the reason why you are alive, the reason why you are who you are, is because you were procreated by the activities of the sexual involvement of your father and your mother. So sex is for procreation. Now, another point I have here is that, which is the point that says sex is responsibility. Sex is responsibility. Now, I don't know. Sometimes in the location where I am, sometimes I go to the market sometimes, and I see some of these young girls that have gotten pregnant outside wedlock, and you looking at them, they are like babies. I see them as babies having babies, children having babies. And sometimes you see that some of them will carry a train of granite on the head, or carry a bag of pure water on the head, and they are walking through at the center of the market looking for what to buy with a baby behind their back. They are carrying baby, and this baby now, sometimes there was this irritating sight I saw one day in the market. The baby wanted to wee, and the baby was just urinating, peeing by the side of the way the mother backed the baby just wee, and everything was just pouring out. No pampers, nothing. What did it show? The girl that carried that baby, now she have seen what was more than her. She could not afford pampers, and so maybe she found herself because perhaps she went and did what she was not supposed to do. She took the wrong step. She didn't listen to counsel. She didn't listen to her parents. She didn't listen to this kind of teaching. And she took the wrong step. And now the responsibility is there. She cannot handle the responsibility. And so it was so irritating. When I saw this scenario that day, I was just, from where I was just shaking my head. I was just feeling for her. But what can I do? I cannot help her. She have to carry her cross. So sex is responsibility. Now, lastly on that point, sex, there is time for sex. There is time for sex. Now, in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, the Bible says that there is time for everything, and there is time for every matter. And the Bible says there is a time for everything and a season for every matter under the sun. There is time for sex. There is time to go to school. There is time to be educated. There is time. God has placed everything timely. In fact, he even said that there is time to be born. There is time to, in fact, for everything on the surface of the earth. So if someone decide that he wants to fast forward the time, he wants to fast forward the hand of the clock, at the end of the day, the person will discover that he will put him or herself under unnecessary pressure. But that will not be the lot of anyone that hears my voice tonight, and anyone that will still listen to the replay of this lesson in Jesus' name. Now, the next point we are going to be looking at, we shall be looking at why is it that some teenagers get involved in sexual activities? Why do teenagers get involved in sexual activities, especially during a season like this? In fact, in the various seasons we have in the year, the various seasons, you see a lot of teenagers, they just lose hold of themselves. They just give themselves out and begin to misbehave. And this Valentine season is one of such seasons. Now, somebody said, I heard of somebody, a counselor saying that, mentioned some days ago that a nurse said that once it is Valentine, 6 weeks after Valentine, that in the hospitals, the nurse now talking now, that their hospital are normally filled up with young girls coming to do what? They go there to go and do abortion. Why? Because they have left off themselves, they have done so many things, and now because they don't want to take responsibility of their action, they go further to go and make it complicated. Now, one of the reasons why teenagers get involved in sexual activities, number one, and this one is so strong, is as a result of peer pressure from their friends, classmates, and especially from social media. Now, like I said yesterday, I said my daughter came back from the school with some gifts. He came with some gifts. Now, you will see now maybe some other girls or some other persons there, they will feel pressured. They will not be feeling bad. Oh, I don't have gifts. I want to have gifts. And before you know, they start giving body language and doing all manner in order to attract gifts from either the opposite sex or otherwise. Now, peer pressure is real. Although there is positive peer pressure, but the negative peer pressure is high, especially in these days. Now, for social media, you go to social media. Dear teenagers, let me tell you that it is not everything you see on social media that is real. A lot of things that happen on social media are staged. A lot of things we see on social media, they are staged. They do all they can. Everything they do on social media, most often than not, is to see that people, is to see how they can deceive people, other people coming along. People are not real on social media. So please, dear teenager, don't get carried away. Don't see social media as a place of do or die affair. Don't see social media that, if I don't join them, it is not me. You must hold yourself tight. You must know whom you are. You must not allow social media to deceive you. Social media is deceiving a lot of people today, especially our dear teenagers. Now, another thing that makes some teenagers to get involved in sexual activities is as a result of lust, not love, not the word lust. And we're going to be looking at this word later, lust, shortly. Then, reasons why teenagers also get involved in sexual activities is also to prove a point to some of their friends that they are now boys of themselves. They are now girls of themselves. They can take responsibility, whereas they are still collecting money from daddy and mommy to buy coke, to buy snacks in the school. And they want to prove a point. You don't need to prove a point to anybody. You don't need to prove a point. You are growing. You are who you are. You don't need to prove a point to anybody. Another reason why teenagers get involved is to show gratitude or repay a favor. Now you see some girls, they want to use sex to show gratitude or to repay that friend or that boy or that girl who has been asking them for sex, and they'll be saying, no, I cannot. But now, in a season like Valentine like this, they just said, okay, this person has been so good to me. This person has been buying me all manner of things, all manner of gifts. So let me just show favor. Let me just show one favor. Let me just show that at least you have been good. So let me try and repay you back. That is one reason why some teenagers get involved. Then this other one too, this is another major factor. Exposure to pornography. Exposure to pornography, books with dirty content. Now this pornography, now you will see normally on phones, you will see some sites will just be popping up. Some pornographic site will just be popping up like that on phone. And you see many young people and teenagers, they find themselves going to such site to go and watch nakedness of other people. And by the time as a teenager, as a young person, you are exposed to something, to those kind of things, you are walking, you wake up those things that God has deposited in you, which are made for the right time. But the right time has not come. The right time have not reached. You now are walking those hormones, those things, and you begin to find. That's when you now see some teenagers will now get involved in masturbation, get involved in looking for people to come and satisfy them and all of that sexually. It's because of exposure to pornography. Please, dear teenagers. And this is where discipline comes in. This is where we have to be disciplined. We have to have self-control in minding the things we expose ourselves to. Now, I posted a prayer some days ago on my pages from Proverbs 4:23 that talks about guiding our hearts. Now, the main entrance into our heart, into our mind, our ears and our eyes. So these two things, if we want to go far in life, we want to be what God has destined us to be. We want to get to that point God wants us to get to. We must protect our eyes. We must be able to discipline our eyes and discipline our ears. These are the major entrances into our heart, into our mind. The other reason why teenagers get involved in sex is rebellion to parents. Rebellion to parents and guardians. Your parents have been trying to correct you, have been trying to speak to you. Maybe something just happened and you just said, okay, I want to repay this my parent. I want to tell him, I want to tell her that I'm a big boy. And you now go your way and you decide to go out there. At the end of the day, whatever result you get, it's not your parents, it's not your parents that will bear it. Please, I don't know, somebody should help me. Please mute from your end, please. Please, some persons are talking. Help me to mute, please. Like I was saying, I say rebellion to parents. Some teenagers, especially in the area where I am, you see some teenagers are so heady. They are so heady, they are so stubborn, they want to have it their way. They want to do it their way. Dear teenagers, this should not be you. This should not be you. Allow your heart to be open to correction. Allow your heart to be open to the correction of your parents and guardians. Even if you feel they are not doing it the right way, even if you feel that they are too harsh on you, Take it a step at a time and just make your head calm down. Let it calm down. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. It's your life. It's not their life. And I see God helping you in Jesus' name. Amen. We'll go to the next point. While we are going to the next point, please, in case, because this is a free version of of Zoom I'm using. So in case this meeting comes to an end, please, I appeal that you will log in again with the same link. Please, I appeal. Now, let's quickly look at the consequences of sexual involvement as a teenager or as a young person. When you get yourself involved in sexual activities, you are bound to face some consequences. Your parents will not help you to bear the result that comes. It is you that will bear the result. One of such consequences, especially if you have been a child of God, you have been following the ways of God, but you decided to just lose off your guard and to do as you will, you will lose the presence of God. Now, the presence of God is everywhere. We know the presence of God is everywhere. But there's this unique presence of God that's ordinarily supposed to be with you as a child of God. When you get yourself involved in sexual activities, a time will come, God will just leave you. You remember Samson? If you're a child of God and you have been following, did you see that Samson, as a mighty man of God that he was, because he got himself involved in activities, in sexual activities, which was against God's plan for him, he lost the presence of God. He didn't even know that God's presence had left him until he now became a toy. He became a toy. He started grinding pepper for his enemies. This will not be the lot of anyone hearing my voice this evening. Now, the next consequence that if anyone that gets involved in sexual activities, the next consequence that such a person, such a teenager may get will be guilt and disappointment. You see, anytime the person wants to do anything meaningful, they will be using guilt. The person will be feeling tormented. The person will not have peace. That person will not have rest. Because I know it's not the lot of anyone listening to me. But that person that have gone outside to go against God's will by being involved in sexual activities, the person will be having guilt. The person will be feeling disappointed in himself, disappointed in herself. The person will not know any rest. Now, the next point is loss of self-worth, self-confidence, and low self-esteem. Because the person is feeling guilty, feeling disappointed, you discover that the person will begin to feel less of him or herself. Will not be able to accomplish that which God has destined him. The person will be having low self-esteem. The esteem will go low. Any small thing, the person will look as if he's shocked. And meanwhile, nobody is pursuing him, nobody is pursuing her. Other consequences are sexual transmitted diseases and horrible infections. Horrible infections that may either be immediate or may be in the future. It may either be immediate or may be in the future. And this infection can make the person to start spending much money in the future. But we will not know that it is based on what he or she has done while he was in his or her teens age. Then you also have unwanted pregnancies that result in unwanted babies. Like the story I shared. I said I saw a girl one day in the market carrying one train on the head. And the baby she was backing, the baby was urinating. In fact, it was even while the baby was urinating, that was what drew my attention. And I look at her, and Kata was pouring out from the baby's nose. In fact, I just shook my head from where I was standing. I said, can you imagine? Perhaps she brought this on herself. No, now she's the one bearing the consequence. Instead of her to be in the school, she's not in the school. She's selling, whether it was granite or pure, I saw that day, I can't remember again. She was selling that to care for herself and also to care for the baby. So you see, the consequences are really much. Then you also have abortion too. Some guests now, they will say, okay, they don't want to carry the responsibility, so let them just go and abort. They abort, they get the abortion, they can get some other issues, which can be now or later in the future. They also have premature marriages. That is, some parents now, they may just say, no, not in my house. So before you know, they marry off the girl, marry off the girl to the boy, and the boy, because the boy too is a baby. The boy is a child now. The boy too start to maltreat the girl. The boy is not going to school, not doing any work, or even if he's a man, or the man is the girl now happen to be the second wife. What kind of life is that? So you see, there are so many consequences that are involved when we go outside of God's will, especially in respect of being sexually involved in all these activities. You see, then there's also the loss of potentials and abilities. Now, when a girl, for example, now is carrying baby and walking from street to street, how will she develop her skills? How will she go to school? It will take the grace of God. It will only take the grace of God for her to regain her life. So, having said that, for a teenager, sex and loss go hand in hand. They go together. They go hand in hand. Now, I want us to briefly talk about loss. Now, like I said, this session, this Zoom link, this class will soon be ending in another 3 minutes. Please, immediately it throws us out. Let's log in again with the same link. We're almost getting towards the end of today's class. Now, let's talk about loss. We're talking about loss. Loss is the feeling. You say, what is loss? Loss is a feeling of strong and intense desire to have something at all costs for pleasure, gratification, and satisfaction. Loss is that feeling, that strong feeling that somebody has, that someone has to have something for pleasure, for gratification, and for satisfaction. Now, in relation to sex that we're talking about, lust is a strong desire to have sexual pleasure. By all means, sexual pleasure, gratification, and satisfaction. Now, when I say sexual pleasure, it can be that this sexual pleasure can make that teenager or that person to go and start looking for who will satisfy him or her. Or the person can devise other means such as masturbation and all of that. Now, lust is a deadly desire. Another definition I gave it here is that it is a deadly desire to get instant gratification now. And as soon as possible without the consideration of the other person. Now, lust is about oneself. Lust is concerned about what the person wants to get. Now, in lust is not apathetic, as it aims to satisfy me, I, and myself. It is all about I, and I again. Lust does not mind how the other person feels. Lust is just about how he can get everything, what he can get, everything he can get, without minding the feelings of the other person. That is what lust is. Now, why do some teenagers lust for sexual pleasure? Why do they lust? It is not far from what I've already said before. Because teenagers having sex or being involved in sexual activities is as a result of lust. And this is majorly because of visitation to pornographic sites on the internet, watching pornographic videos, magazines, reading novels that have sexual content and other materials. Because what you allow into your mind is what form who you eventually become. What you allow into your mind continuously is what form who you eventually become. Please, this class, the Zoom will be ending in less than 1 minute. Please, as it ends, please, let's get back again through that same link. It means that we have already done 40 minutes. Please bear with me. Thank you for being with me. We are coming again. As this Zoom is throwing us out in another less than 1 minute, we are going to log in again through the same link. Thank you very much for being part of this teaching. At the end of the teaching, I'm going to be introducing some books to us that we will be needing